I stand before you to talk about the Ministry of Defense of the recent times, probably between 2015 to date. I would rather confine myself to the period I am appointed the Minister of Defense, but for continuation of the regime, I wouldn't mind going back into memory lanes to be able to give the background of why we are here. Let me begin by saying that I am pleased to stand before you to address you on the status of the country's defense strategy and the strides being made to make Nigeria safer, a more habitable and attractive to business and economic activities. First, I would like to thank the Presidential Committee, Presidential Communication Team, PCF, PCT, for putting in this briefing together, and I am optimistic that in the course of my presentation that I can provide the much needed clarification on the work that the military is currently embarking on to ensure the safety of lives and property across all the regions of our Nigerian nation. I would like to state here and clearly that the armed forces will not be deterred from carrying out their duty of protecting the lives and the lives of the people. And on behalf of President Buhari, we would like to commiserate with the families and loved ones of the soldiers that were recently killed in Benue State, and also not forgetting all the members of the armed forces who had to pay the ultimate price to ensure that our nation remains safe. I can assure you that we are on the hunt for the killers of these soldiers, and we will ensure that they are face the full wrath of the law. I would like to use this opportunity to pledge this administrative support, cooperation, and collaboration with security agencies to ensure those responsible for these dastardly acts that have been recorded are apprehended, to ensure that we restore the morale of soldiers and troops in the fight against insurgency, banditry, and all other forms of insecurity. Let me start by giving an overview of some of the administration's recent efforts of restructuring of our national security architecture. In the last 4 months, President Buhari has appointed new service chiefs and a new Inspector General of Police. The President has also directed that any person found wielding or using AK-47 in the forest in any part of this country should be shot at sight. And this is a warning which we want to send the message to all Nigerians. We are not going to miss word. Anybody picking arms against the nation or against members of the armed forces or the local government around him will have no need, he has no life to live, will certainly get to him. Similarly, you may understand that we have declared Zamfara State a no-flying zone, and all activities of miners have been suspended. Similarly, in trying to build and threaten the international partnership, we have recently reviewed the existing bilateral agreements between the United Kingdom and Nigeria, intending to work out a new framework of action to decisively tackle the insecurity in our country. Our cooperation with all other international partners, including especially our neighbors, is also being threatened. Just this week, the newly elected president of Niger was in Abuja to visit President Buhari, and the security was one of the items that we discussed. The federal government has also committed to continuing the improvement of standards for the military, both in training, welfare, and equipment. The high-caliber weapons ordered by the Buhari administration are being expected to arrive on the shore of our country soonest, and the deployment of these equipments would boost the morale of the soldiers and ensure that the insurgents are completely rooted out. Since President Buhari assumed office in 2015, we have acquired new aircraft, and there are more than 20 manned aircraft and armed combat aerial vehicles that are being expected for delivery in the coming months. These assets are in addition to dozens of armored vehicles, battle tanks, artillery trucks, and other direct weapons being acquired by the Army, and boats and UVE being acquired for the Navy. We can therefore confidently report that Boko Haram and its allies have been dealt and are still being dealt and given a major blow, not just on the military front, but also in terms of curtailing the illegitimate financing that allows them to source weapons and trade recruits. In the absence of their funding, the terrorist recruitment and armament strategies have been severely affected. Several key terrorist commanders have also been neutralized, and their desperate attacks on communities in Borno State are increasingly being foiled. Let me also remind you that the Nigerian military has several ongoing operations across the country, including Operation Lafia Dole, Operation Hadirin Daji, Operation Turata Kebango, Thunder Strike, Safe Haven, Wild Stroke, Delta Safe, and many others. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not unaware of the recent attacks on the basis of our humanitarian agencies and international non-governmental organizations in the Northeast. While we are strengthening the security around the areas that have been attacked to forestall further attacks and prevent such occurrences from becoming a consistent theme, we would like to appeal to those humanitarian agencies and non-governmental organizations to continue to partner with the Nigerian military and indeed the government in the fight against insurgency. I would like to call for continued cooperation and collaboration with the military from the communities in the various theaters of operation. The task of ensuring security is not for the security and law enforcement agencies alone. It must be seen as a collective effort that requires credible intelligence that can be best be provided by local communities. Briefly, these are the current situation as far as military, the defense is concerned. I will therefore once again thank you for for the opportunity to address you today, and we look forward to furthering collaboration with the media and other key stakeholders in ensuring the safety of lives and property in our dear great country, Nigeria. Thank you very much. I will have loved to make some few comments because I will soon be addressing a press conference by the three ministers, the Minister of Police Affairs, Internal Affairs, and myself. We have made a comprehensive, detailed brief as far as the security of this country is concerned, and the method we want to take in ensuring that we strategically and tactically get rid of all our enemies in this country, be it the political enemies, the religious enemy, the ethnic enemies, and all the political enemies of this country. We have made a comprehensive, detailed report or research on that, and we have taken a position which I don't want to preempt here, but certainly we are coming back with that. What is important is that in this brief, we are just trying to inform you of our impression and our concern as far as the security of this country is concerned. First, the latest is the burning of our soldiers, brutal murder of about 10 soldiers and 1 officer. And the military is not taking kindly of that. Let me just tell you this. I have been to the Benue State government, I have seen the governor, and we have told him the bluntest truth about the position of military in this country. Whoever touches the military has no regard for this country. And this country is governed by rule of law. And we have accepted democracy as a solution to the liberty of individuals in this country. We have been very firm. We have succeeded in reiterating to them what actually we want. And we have got some answers that the weapons that were captured from the soldiers are retrieved. At least we have 9 of them out of 12. And the perpetrators, they have been captured, or they have been, well, not captured, but they are taken to the police for proper interrogation and the subsequent prosecution of this thing. In other words, we, as I've been corrected, we have opponents, not enemies. But by my training, anytime I'm using my operational order, I say friendly forces and enemy forces. So you can forgive me for that. But I think we are saying the same thing in a more, what do you call, civility and respect, maybe. But certainly their activities are the same. So those who call Nigerians as enemy, we don't mean that in its real word, in its real meaning. Put it in quote, enemies, and we are now using opponents. Honestly, I can read part of what I have written here about the general problem in this country. And we discuss the happenings. And as you are all aware, international and domestic environment are pervaded by increasing speed of threats to individual and national security. In this wise, Nigeria has continued to face multiple, unremitting, and persistent internal conflicts. While incidents of domestic terrorism have reduced due to the measures taken by the federal government, the extremist and intolerance of diversity has grown the more. For instance, we are seeking to upkeep the balance by the airport activities in the southeast, the hardest crisis in the north central, and the banditry and other things that are happening within the zones or various zones in this country. However, I just want to reiterate that the Constitution clearly spelled out the essence of citizens' participation in individual and collective security of the states. Nigerians are urged to defend the country and render such national service as may be required through assistance to appropriate and lawful agencies of government by sharing intelligence, information for the maintenance of law and order. This, however, hardly the situation at the moment. We lack most of these things I'm talking about. For instance, attacks on the police in the southeast are not just an affront to the sovereignty and well-being of Nigerian state. They negate economic growth and poverty alleviation of its people and the Nigerians who are dependent on the resourcefulness of their residents. This would have been different if there was synergy between the citizens and the state operators. Again, the activities of oil thieves in the southern part directly impact on the health of the economy and of the residents there. In fact, it has given rise to the environmental degradation with its associated wealth challenges and loss of fishing and farming grounds for the artisanal people of the region, and the dark economy that endangers cultism, kidnapping for ransom, drugs and trafficking, etc., as well as discouraging investment and sustenance of jobs, thereby creating concern. There is also thus a recognition by the federal government and state government that instead of merely connecting with responses, countering whole of society policy are needed to check this ugly trend. This is the only way we as a nation can attain the dual objectives of protecting our country from internal and external threats, but also to provide a conducive environment in which aspirations of human security, national progress, and development could be realized. In other words, we are all stakeholders to bring these dual objectives to bear, and that is the only way out. Why are these things happening? Let me say, make no mistakes that our nation is bleeding now. It is bleeding because the self-interest and other primordial considerations underlying decisions, quite a number of our elites, political, ethnic, and religious, make it so. Such elites are quick to attribute blames to groups other than theirs. The whole idea is to exploit the social division for their political gains. And it is because of this divisiveness that Nigeria lacks a national consensus or common comprehensive understanding and the interpretation of what national security is. IG, Boko Haram, is in its clear days, is one of them. Farmer herders clashes, the IPOD, and other political associations that are coming up with different mandates and different concerns. And all these have encouraged groups to seek violence as a legitimate alternative. From here emerges a narrow vision of national identity and vision which threaten our country's prospect for social cohesion and stability. This is why we are seeing the rise of self-help syndrome, often endorsed by states and local elites seeking violence as a legitimate alternative. The rise in vigilantism and identity-based militia who claim to be working for the political and ethno-religious emancipation of their people, aka resource control, secession, and regional self-determinations, defines the potent threats to the national security in the country. What the government is doing, you may be wondering that the federal government is what the federal government is doing. First, let me acknowledge the very noble role state governors are playing as the chief security officers of their states. They have been doing a lot by providing intelligence and logistics support to the armed forces and other law enforcement agencies. And sometimes, through their vigilantes, they do assist. The last aspect being an antithesis and thereby creating problems in the geopolitical zones, including those in the south. We must also acknowledge civil society groups who draw government attention to ill winds in our society. At the federal level, we have started a dialogue and interaction session with all stakeholders in order to pool the society's effort to containing the threats confronting us as a nation and as a people. You will recall that the Chief of Staff to the President and Commander-in-Chief, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, had a team of federal government officials to hear our elites and other stakeholders in the various geographical zones as a step to making progress. The NSA also, the CDS and the service chiefs, as a follow-up, had commenced one of such dialogues, starting with the Northwest to the Southwest. This is just one of such interactive dialogues to get the buy-in of all of the contending downward side in our security of our nation. We are also having convention of peace stakeholders, seminars, closed-door conversations, and briefings. Government is also, through the Ministry of Defense, proposing a national seminar with the theme National Unity, Implication for National Security. All these are efforts to sustain the peace. Running contrary with these are the several federal government interventions in the wealth and job creation in this country. You recall the ongoing recruitment process of 1,000 youths from each local government for employment in the federal civil service. We cannot and shall not allow these criminals and self-centered people to take hold of our life. Similarly, also recall that number of cash transfer schemes of the federal government aim at not just sustenance of beneficiaries, but support their creative ideas and generate new income dynamics. It is hoped that with the current economic reforms in agriculture, the multiple social economic effort by the NDGC, and the effort to clean up the pollution in Niger Delta, which will ensure a clean environment, will provide a better economic activities. Furthermore, there are plans of increased recruitment of qualified youth into the armed forces, the Nigerian Police Force, the Nigerian Civil Defense, and other paramilitary organizations. This will not only reduce the unemployment level, but will also help to build up personnel in the security sectors. We have also to recognize that various levels of government alone cannot solve these problems. We, as one indivisible society, have to dress down to make it happen. We cannot and shall not allow these criminals and self-centered people to take hold of our dear national life. Criminals and troublemakers must find legitimate cause of influence for political, ethnic, and religious, as well as economic relevance. Going forward, we must together finish the work of defeating violence. We are here to assure you that Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, Muhammad Buhari, GCFO, and the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, and along with his governing elites at the federal and state levels, are on top of the situation, and in no distant future, our situation would be much better than it is now. The President has commenced the rejigging of the armed forces. New services have been appointed, and the new strategies are coming into play. New defense capabilities have also been started coming in. We hope the President will soon consider a holistic security sector reform of the other security agencies. But the use of force must be seen as part of the whole of society approach, and this government will not relent on this direction. We will give the leadership you want. We have the political will to reduce this menace in a short while. We can only do little if the political, ethnic, and religious elites continue to fuel their decisive paradigm. After all, it can just be as satisfying and much more cost-effective to prevent conflicts rather than to fight them. Your support is here very critical. Lest we forget, victory here will be measured by you, and going about our duties, our leisure, our shopping, our local international travel without looking for security is impossible. Thank you very much. That budget, you are referring to the supplementary budget? Yes, there was a delay because it's not only the ministry alone. The services, the Army, Navy, and Air Force must have prepared the budget of what they require as a supplementary budget. And in that process, we find a delay, unlike the health service, which they are concerned more of COVID-19, because they are the two ministries that the Mr. President authorized for extra budgetary provision. And I'm sure the day I saw it in the newspaper, and the following 2 days, I think during the weekend, we inquired and we found that we have made the submission, only that we did not submit it to the Ministry of Finance, which we did, and action is being taken by now. The Chad issue, when we heard of this unfortunate killing of the Chadian president, we know that problem is bound to be created amongst the neighboring countries. And Nigeria will be most hit by his absence. If there is no security in Chad, there will be a lot of problems. But thank God, we have a lot of military activities with the Chadian, Niger, Cameroon. We have all that military concern. So, in the name of multinational joint task force, all these countries, including Chad, are contributing countries for the operation. What we hope is that very soon we will find a secure for the continuation of this thing, of the activities we are supposed to be doing. The problem is that the problem of Chad is now going to be aggravated because we are not sure the direction in which that country is going to face. But I assure you that we are mindful of our borders, we are mindful of the development, and politically the government is putting its head together to see how best they can restore the peace in that country. So security-wise, we are beefing up all our borders to ensure that refugees, they don't flow into our country. Even Nigerians, I'm sure some of them would like to come back. We have to make ready, we must prepare for them and allow them to come in and refuse others to come because of the problems that will create. The issue of weapons and armament, we are also afraid of that. Before, Chad is the buffer, stopping most of this infiltration of weapons and the rest of it. Now, it's free for all, right from Libya down to Nigeria. It's very easy now because of the absence of the influence of Chad in that route. So we also have to take care of that and prepare our minds to it. I think we are on top of the situation. All we are praying that the African countries will find a solution to the problem of Chad and get on moving as a democratic society as expected by international organizations and the world over. Are you okay? The Air Force crash. It's unfortunate. We had two crashes, one around Kaduna, Abuja Airport, and then the other one in the forest. These incidences are not human errors. These incidences We cannot say it's mechanical or otherwise. These instances we cannot say as at now whether there is an action from the rebels or otherwise which caused the collision of the aircraft. The best I can tell you is that investigation is on, and we'll tell the world exactly our findings of the situation about those aircrafts. All bundles should be killed. I don't share that. With my little experience as a lawyer for 37 years, I think I know the rule of law. I know how decisions are taken. Everybody is innocent till he is found guilty. We'll try to administer justice to all of them. But where we catch them with weapons, somebody trying to kill you, what do? You will allow him to kill you before you make complaint? Madam, that area we will not compromise. Anybody who will pick using arms will deal with him. If he fire one round, will fire artillery weapon level so that it can destroy the whole range. I mean the radius. Not only himself, even his farm should be examined. In every society, they are likely to find some people who are acting against the will of the state. But if at all this is true, the intelligence services must have confirmed all relevant information about them and make arrest with a view to prosecuting them. There is a lot of comments that the Bureau change, the politicians, the military officers, the military are also part of the source of information to this thing. I think the right person who can address this thing are the office of the Minister of Finance dealing with this, what do you call this unit? The unit that is doing money laundering and the other things. I'm sure they will give you a better answer. All I know that we may find some deviant among us who are ready to take extra benefits in disguise of being military officers, and that you cannot stop. But I assure Nigerian military will not partake in that kind of stupid ideas because they see their colleagues dying every moment. How can you just, you don't know whether who will go, and you are not excluded from those who will go to war. It's rotation. We rotate soldiers. If it is your turn, you must go. So if you start to be going on the other side, maybe you will end up the victim. But certainly, I've not seen that this is not happening, but confirmed from the appropriate ministry or agency of government. That will help you much. Funding of Boko Haram, the arrest, I saw it in the paper. Officially, I have not seen no communication for us. But certainly, I know arrests were made in Kano, because that's where I come from. People called me and told me that some people are arrested, and they want us to help. I say, we cannot help you. Let's find out what is actually happening, because this is what is killing this country. You must allow investigation to continue and finish. If you do that, you are helping in this insurgency problem we are facing. And most of us agree that they will allow the law to take its course. I know some people are arrested, especially in Kano. I don't know of other places. Thank you. The declaration, yes, we're on it. What is happening when we secure all the local governments in Borno State, we established what we call safe haven in Bauchi, oh, is it Gombe? Yes, we established that, initially feeling that maybe we are not, maybe we thought when they are given basic reorientation, they should be able to fit in again back to the society. And I think we were doing that up to today. I think it's the Operation Safe Corridor in Bauchi. I'm sorry, Gombe. And if you go there, you find quite a number of them. But the problem is, I don't know the latest about them, but government is fully in charge. And I think we are not protecting them. We are trying to make them more civil and fit in into the society. If that is a problem in this country, we'll have to review the situation and act immediately.